Morning, or excuse me, afternoon. It's a disorienting time in the world. Hello, how are you guys? Welcome. How was the movie? Amazing, right? I'm not just saying this, but it is my favorite movie of the year, and so I'm so honored to be here to speak to the star of the movie. And I am Stacey Wilson-Hunt. I work for Hollywood, not Hollywood Reporter, I work for New York Magazine, gets me every time. I work for New York Magazine and Vulture here in Hollywood, and I'm so honored to speak to Salma Hayek. So please come to the stage. It's a great reception.
Yes.
And how many people had seen the movie before? Just curious. Okay, so that's amazing. So you were able to see it and have this amazing person here to talk about it. Oh gosh, so much to talk about. But first of all, I wanted to see, how have you felt about everything that's going on in the last few months? It's been a tough time in the business.
Okay. First of all, first things first. I want to thank every single one of you for coming today, because I also know that in the last, like in this month, there's a lot of screenings and a lot of movies.
Very true.
But this movie, it's only having one screening, and it's this one.
Wow. I did not know that.
So I really appreciate you showing up.
That is very special.
Yeah.
We're all honored.
It's a special party we're having here. Thank you. I feel kind of great of what's been happening in the industry in the last month. It's an important time because I feel that women have been a subject of sexual violence and harassment for centuries. And a lot of the harassment has become socially acceptable to the point that I promise you that a lot of these men didn't even think they were doing anything wrong.
Right. Just unconsciously passed down in the generations.
Yes, and I think that also many other people that are kind of witnessing the sexual pressure that a woman is constantly engaging, one way or another, because there's no choice, have looked away a little bit with this philosophy of, oh, that's not good. Well, but it's her problem. She has to figure out how to solve it on her own. And I think that one of the reasons it happens a lot in our industry has to do with the devaluation of women in general. When you don't pay actresses as much as actors, subconsciously there is a sense that it's there present that we are worth less. When you don't find the content for the female audience, because it's not important, because they undermine even the female audience, it's the same disdain. When you don't really, you assume that if you are a woman, you have less potential for talent, or maybe something not much to offer artistically. We are constantly undermined. So when you devalue us as a gender, we create a fertile ground for predators. And I am very excited because in my lifetime, I have fought for many things, and I've always been very outspoken about it. And in this very old life that I have now, but at the same time, short time, when you think of the issues that I'm going to talk about, it's a privilege because I've seen the world change, this industry change towards the Latinos. I was a part of it. Towards women, I am seeing it. I am a part of it. And I think because of what's happening in this industry, we are a little bit in a process of re-education, not just as a community, but I think it's expanding worldwide of what it is okay and what it's not okay.
Are you surprised at all that this has happened not when Obama was president, but it's happening now? Is there a connection in terms of how we're feeling politically? Is there a sense of, well, I can't control this other thing, but I can control this thing that I'm seeing, and I do want to be able to fight in this way?
Yes, I think so, because I think that when we elected a president that I think had 12 lawsuits for sexual harassment, something like that, and we heard him. You know, I'm not gonna say, you know, how if you are powerful, you can go grab your, you know what, and and
there's no doubt we actually heard him say
heard
it.
him, and still America elected him as a president, which goes to show you what I was talking about before, where we thought we accepted it, we accepted the situation. I think that it gives more people, you know, the courage to say, no, wait a minute. Everything that is happening is like crazy. It's like a Fellini movie, the politics in America.
It is.
And with very bad hair and makeup.
But just as many clowns, though.
And just as many clowns. You're right. So people are saying, wait a minute, no, this madness has to stop somewhere. And I think you are right. That I think. We hit a wall and said, no more.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it continues.
Yes.
But today is about you, so let's not get off track.
But this is also about me.
It is. It is.
About everyone.
And I have more pointed questions about you later on.
Go, girl.
I can't have you here and not delve into this. It's just too important. But let's go back to when you were little. I would love to know what kind of child you were growing up in Mexico.
I was a very active child, and in my head I was more active than what I discovered watching the videos.
Like
of
home movies?
Yourself, the home movies. I was so serious.
You thought of yourself as more lighthearted?
Myself more playful, and I remember, but I was kind of, I've always been an observant, but I also have always been very opinionated. But, and I think I played a lot, but I do know, especially when you watch yourself and then you remember, oh yeah, I remember this part of me now too. I was always like a thinker, observing and trying to figure things out and thinking and taking things in.
So you weren't necessarily theatrical. Like a lot of actors, you know, they sort of discovered that part of themselves very early on.
I was a choreographer to my cousins. And we would do some dances and stuff when I was little. I remember doing that. I never acted when I was little. No.
And when was the first time you thought of acting as an actual option? Was there a movie that you loved or a performer you loved and you thought, oh, I can do that, I'd love to try that?
This is an interesting question, because the normal question that I get is, did you ever see a performance or did you see a movie that inspired you to be an actress? And for years it was always the same answer, which is yes, I remember watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. No, but it's very interesting, watch this. And thinking, like something like dawned on me, oh my God, in this lifetime, in this universe, there is a place, a portal, where anything can happen. And then I started thinking about that, and that's why I wanted to be an actress. And then just this year, I caught myself in the middle of it and I said, that has nothing to do with acting. And I had to accept to myself at this point, I don't think I want to be an actress.
But you knew you were creative.
I always wanted to be, I think, now I can tell you, I think I wanted to be a director. But I wouldn't already to accept to myself that I wanted to be an actress and how everybody was going to laugh at me was a big step. It's like coming out of the closet. And at the time, to think of becoming a director as a woman, imagine in Coatzacoalcos, Veracruz, it was probably not even part of my neural net.
Right.
Because of what we were talking about at the beginning. But I am very happy that I am an actress, and I really enjoy acting. But if I was really true to myself, it was never a performance. I want to be like her. It was never the glamour of the whole. It was the movies. It was the storytelling.
And you spent some time in the U.S. as a child. You went to school here for a little bit.
School here as a teen.
In Louisiana.
In Grand Cateau, Louisiana.
What was that
Academy
like?
of the Sacred Heart.
Wow. Were you a bad girl and you got sent away?
You know, it was divided, the school, by the good nuns and the bad nuns. The good nuns, the cool nuns, loved me.
When you say good, you mean they were fun and not abusive, essentially?
Yeah, no, they were really wonderful, some of them.
Okay.
Within the bad nuns, there was one particular one that really used to say to me, you don't belong in a boarding school, you belong in a reform school, juvenile reform. But I was not, I was imaginative and a prankster, but I was not a bad girl, you know? Unfortunately, the head of the school, the good nun, got transferred.
Oh no.
And the bad nun took her position, and she told me, if you don't promise me you don't come back next year, I'm expelling you.
Oh.
I said, no, I promise you I'm not coming back. No. Sister Norman's gone, I'm out of here. Oh. But I did get a medal for spirit.
That's cute. So you were never want for spirit back then. What was it like to live in America at that age? And also, how much English did you know before you came here?
Well, I didn't speak any English when I went to that school. And it's America, but it's a boarding school in Louisiana, so...
It's a great movie concept, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to see this movie.
By the way, it was full of students the boarding school was full of students from all over the world.
Wow.
And a lot of places in America. It was great. I discovered the Rice Krispie treat. I discovered the Dr. Pepper with vanilla ice cream and
the staples of the American diet, essentially.
Yeah, I even tried the Taco Bell, which was such a weird concept, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't learn as much English as I should have, because it was like full of girls from El Salvador and all over, because there was the war, and all over Central and South America, and we would stick together. But I did have like 2 American friends that were like my best friends. So I learned some English. Then I went back to Coatzacoalcos, and then when I came back here, I thought I spoke English really well because I went to school in Louisiana. And then once I got here, I realized I was wrong.
When you came back to LA?
English, and acting in English, a whole different ballgame.
But before you moved to LA, you were in a telenovela. And what was that experience like?
It was bizarre. I was kind of like an overnight success. The telenovela was very popular.
Teresa,
and
right?
Teresa. And they used to feed me all the lines in a little machine in my ear. And they were like writing them 5 minutes before you were saying them.
Is that standard practice? Is that what they do?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't because you weren't able to read the scripts, they just actually fed you?
No, yeah, sometimes they're writing them there, and then you just hear the lines for the first time, and you just said, And sometimes they give you stage directions also.
Right.
And it was hard to understand, there were takes I've seen people say, leave me, step out of his light. I've seen this happen. So So it was a bizarre experience.
So it was quite an interesting acting school experience. Yes. So you go from that experience and you moved here to LA. And how were you received when you would audition? Were your English skills?
I was not received I wouldn't even be received to the auditions.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't audition Mexicans. It was a triumph.
If you actually got in the room.
If you got an audition.
Wow.
There were some specific roles, normally with no lines, or clothes, that you could come in to read, but the problem was that there were not even auditions to go to.
Wow. And you were studying with Stella Adler.
I was studying with, that's how old I am. You know what, she was very old when she was
very
working.
old, yeah.
She was 94 when I was working with her.
Wow.
Vinicio was there, Mark Ruffalo was there. They were years ahead of me, by the way. It's true, but one or two.
And what did you learn from her that kept you going? Because I'm sure it was very discouraging, this whole process.
You know, she was obsessed about the voice. If you got up on her class on the stage and you were really, you know, I remember one poor girl, because she was so much nicer to the cute guys. I mean, it was so obvious. When she was 94.
Gotta let her do what she wants when she's 94.
This girl was very good, and she stopped her and she said, I can't do this. I cannot hear you. It doesn't really matter if you're good or bad. Nobody's gonna know.
Does she mean the actual volume of the woman's voice?
Yes,
okay.
Because I cannot hear you clearly. If you have something to say, you must make yourself be heard. And I remember this so clearly. I remember this so clearly because to me it resonated about many other things in life.
And did she help you, I guess, it sounded like you had a difficult time finding auditions, but did she give you advice about how to make connections and get in the room?
No, that's not the kind of class. No.
You're on your own.
Master class. Some people would go and you'd hear the commentary. But I was in the conservatory, so I had many other teachers, but they were, at the time it was very serious. So it was not about a class for auditioning or cold reading. No, it was Shakespeare, it was body work, it was acting one, acting two. It was very serious.
It wasn't about Hollywood, it was about being an actor.
No, it was not that kind of school at that time.
Okay. I interviewed Robert Rodriguez a couple years ago, and he likes to take credit for your career. He says, I discovered Salma, and I said, I'm gonna have to fact check this with you, because I don't believe it when men say they discover people. But is that a true statement? Did he discover?
It is a true statement.
Okay, fine.
It is true.
Okay.
You know, but he has to give some credit to his wife too,
Yes,
who was a producer.
They were, that's right, a team.
But he was the first one who saw me at maybe 1 a.m. in a show in Spanish. He's flipping through the channels. And I was being interviewed because I was ridiculed a lot in my country because I left and I was a big star and I came here and I was an extra. They would see me in movies. And
did people think you were crazy to leave that life?
completely. And there were all kinds of gossips like, she probably has a legal problem and it had to fled the country. That's all kinds of things.
You couldn't just be ambitious and want to, pursue bigger things.
Because people, if they think if you're ambitious, then you don't start as an extra. If you're ambitious, you stay a star where you are and you just continue to grow there. Right. But I didn't want to do soaps. I wanted to do film. And at the time in Mexico, there was not really a film industry like there is now. Actually, the second person that came with me like a year or two later was Alfonso Cuarón. We were here because it was impossible to make films there. They were all my friends.
You knew a lot of those guys, right?
I knew all of those guys really well. Especially, well, Alfonso and I were very close because we were the first ones to move here. Wow. But Alejandro González Iñárritu went to the same university that I went to, neither one of us were studying anything. I was studying political science, and he was studying, well, kind of communications, but he was a DJ. And I was dating, he was a DJ in the radio. I was dating one of his best friends, and we belonged to the same group of people. So I know Alejandro since I am 16, because I actually got into college at 15. My father didn't allow me to go until I was 16. So I know Alejandro since I was 16 years old, and I'm 51. Do the math.
Wow, that's great.
And then Gael and Diego, who was obese.
Diego was?
Diego was an obese young.
This is Diego
kid.
Luna.
Yeah.
Right. I had no idea.
They were always together, and Gael is the son of a friend of mine. I was hanging out with really good underground actresses that were doing really avant-garde theater, and I was the groupie. I was younger than them, you know, but I loved them, and we became really good friends. And so I was the younger hot friend of the mother, and I used to take them to the theater when they were 10.
Oh my God, wow.
So I know this, it's
Very
funny,
close.
Yes.
Wow. So when you first met Robert Rodriguez, did he sit down with you and say, okay, I want to cast you in Desperado, or he said, I want to work together, let me figure out the right project?
No. He saw me complaining when they were making fun of me. Why did you come here? Da, 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 da. You're a joke. There's no parts for you in the United States. And I said, not yet, but there will be. And he said, what makes you say that? And I said, it's mathematics. And he said, well, we are a lot of us, you know, eventually they're going to find out that we have an economic power, and we need to be represented, and this is unfair, and this is not right, and it's going to change. And they say, well, it's not changed for a long time. We've been a lot for. So how is it going to change? And I said, I'm going to change it. And I smiled, and he said, how? I don't know, but I will somehow. And he saw this.
Wow.
So they
said, I want to work with that woman.
Yes, but you know, he told me, I'm going to give you Desperado. And then 2 years later, when it was finally being done, he made me audition for him. And then I had to screen test, and again screen test, and again audition. And finally, I got the movie after 2 years of waiting.
And what was it like making that movie? Did you know Antonio before?
No.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
What was he like to work with?
Oh, he's such a...
He seems wonderful.
Oh, no, he's wonderful.
And he was obviously a star in Spain and was trying to break into American
cinema. But he was kind
too.
of a star here. Remember that Madonna? I mean, for all of you. That
of course. Truth or Dare.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
He was like the hot guy. Everybody wanted to know about Antonio Banderas. He had a lot of heat on him.
He did.
He had done that movie with Tom Hanks that, you know... Anyway, Philadelphia Story, I think it's something
Philadelphia, right. He was Tom Hanks'
Philadelphia.
lover, right.
And so he was already doing really well, and he was...
But he hadn't been a lead. He hadn't sort of had a breakout kind of lead role.
Exactly.
Right.
And so this was it. And we just had a blast, and he was so kind, and he was so enthusiastic about everything. He went to do all the stunts, and Robert Rodriguez told me, well, here, if you don't do all your stunts, you never work again. And they nearly killed me. I had 2 herniated discs.
Oh, no.
From doing my own stunts for years, because I believed them, because Antonio has to do everything. And then
no one said, we actually have someone who can do that for you?
No. It was one of those things that I thought, you'll never work in this town again. Okay, here we go. You know, but I was good at it.
Well, it seemed like you like it too.
No, not as much as Antonio. I can do it, but not my favorite.
I think Robert likes to push his actors to their limits, it seems like.
He just knew I was naive, and you know, they took advantage of it. But I'm glad I did it. It makes me feel proud that I can still do my own stunts, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if Tom Cruise is still doing his, you can still do yours, right?
Yeah.
And did you, after Desperado came out, was there a sudden surge of interest in you? Were people wondering, who is that woman?
No. No, and the worst part is that I thought for sure, okay, I got my first lead with Antonio Banderas. I thought that was like amazing. So I went shopping. I said, the $3 that they paid me, I'm like,
how much
I'm going to be a star. I need a new look, a new wardrobe. And he came out and he's like, oh my God, I have no money. Where is my next movie, you know?
Oh my God.
So it doesn't work that way.
How much did you get
all
paid?
of you know. Scale,
okay. Which at the time was what?
I don't know, 40, 30, something, 40,000.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that doesn't last long in Hollywood.
After the taxes, then you have to pay the agent, the manager, the publicist.
Yes, that's what a lot of people don't understand about this business. So in 1997, you did Fools Rush In with Matthew Perry, which is a very charming movie, very cute. And I've talked to Matthew about this too, and that was a very big movie for him. You know, you try to translate that TV success to film, and all the Friends actors had varying degrees of success. For some of them, it didn't work at all. And he talked about that he felt a lot of pressure on that movie to be a lead. How did you get cast, and did you enjoy working with him?
I did.
He's a nice guy.
I got cast. They were meeting every Latina in the world.
I bet.
And I got that movie for the same reasons I haven't gotten most of the movies I should have gotten. Which, when the director, Andy Tennant, asked me, what did you think about the script? I say, I know, not good, Andy.
So you were honest.
Yes, no, it's good. It's a good story, but the writing has a lot of problems. And what problems? And I started to tell him. And this is usually where I am very good at acting, but bad at lying. I would have to create a character to go. And I said, I didn't get the movie right. And he said, no, you got the movie because I agree in every single one of the points. And you're the only one that has not come here and pretended.
That's amazing.
Said, wow. And so when he said, give me your notes, once I was cast and give me your notes, and it was like 20 pages. So I was already cast and he was furious. And he said, this is an insult. Who the hell do you think you are? This is disrespectful. Because he was doing the notes. And
did he write the script too?
He rewrote it. He rewrote it. And he went on and then at the end he said, who do you think you are? And I said, the only female Mexican in the entire production. I said, I'm just telling you, this is what would make it accurate to who we are.
Because in the movie, of course, you meet very suddenly, you get pregnant, and then he meets your family, and there are all these family scenes.
All the things about the family, all the things, and all the it was not funny. My part was not funny. The family was not part. Right. And then he hadn't read the notes. He just saw the amount, and he was wonderful. He said, he was so angry, and he stopped and he said, I said, you kind of need that point of view too, because it's about the two of them. Wow. And there was silence, and he said, okay, I hate you right now, but you're right. But most people won't do that, you know? They'll just fire you. And so
they don't want to admit that they were wrong, and also that you had something to offer.
We had such a great time talking about what it was like to be Mexican and coming up with the jokes together. And he was really seriously trying to make it funny. So it's not like we're going to use the stereotypes because it is a comedy, but in a respectful way and in a funny way. And so, because before it was stereotypical but not funny. Right. And so he was really concerned about pleasing the Latin audience. Wow. And I was so happy about that.
And 20 years ago, before we really started talking about this stuff, you didn't hear directors really address those issues.
There was not another one after him. Right. A long time.
So jumping ahead a couple years after that, Frida, 2002, which is amazing. It's funny, I rewatched this movie a couple days ago, and now knowing you in the 20 minutes that I've known you, I feel like you and Frida are sort of soul sisters. She's a little mischievous. She was trying to break into something where she wasn't welcome. She had a wild imagination. She didn't care that she was a woman trying to do a man's work. Were all these connections that you felt when you got to know her story?
I'm not sure if I had all of those connections or if 14 years of research and adoration helped me learn from her some of these things.
And you were a producer on the film.
Yes.
Tell me about it's so strange to think about this movie in hindsight, because to me, it would seem as if a Latino should have directed this movie, just based on what we know today and the authenticity factor. At the same time, Julie Taymor is such a gifted artist, and she's worked in so many different mediums. She does theater, and her visuals are so incredible. How did you connect with her, and how did you trust her to tell this story?
Well, I had a very specific view of the film I wanted to make. It was not like, oh, I'm going to make a film about Frida Kahlo. There were a lot of I really did have a vision. And there had been a movie about Frida Kahlo, brilliantly acted by Ofelia Medina many years ago in Mexico with a Mexican director in Spanish. This film already maybe should have been, you could say, you know, a Latino director and in Spanish, but the truth is that for me the first language of the film, the most important language in the film is the visual language. To me it's not whether English or Spanish, because that was her language. This is the language she used to express herself best. And there were many directors that I explored for the movie. Some of them I worked for a year or two. It was a very long process.
So you worked on this alongside, you would act in a movie, but this was always your side project.
This was my life.
Okay.
I would go do something to eat, and this was my life. And so I have to say, none of them could understand my vision. And it was very tricky because it's a biography, and it's very difficult not to make it a biopic. Right. And at the time, there was a style associated with Latino programming. The style was in the acting, in the melodrama, in the way of telling the stories, in the tragicness of telling. There was a style that I think it was maybe invented a little bit by the stereotype that Americans had made of us, and we kind of said, well, I guess that's what we are here, and we just went along with it.
Right.
And I wanted to make this movie also to show a part of Mexico that I understood very well. And this period was perfect, because in this period in the 40s in Mexico, it was a very sophisticated place. A lot of the great political intellectuals and philosophers of many places in the world that were kicked out of their own country because they were so avant-garde would go live in Mexico.
Trotsky and
so many, Tina Modotti, you know, Edward Winston, all these artists and all these, you know, profound thinkers were all in Mexico hanging out together. It was a very sophisticated group
almost seems
of
like
people
the Beat
at
generation,
time.
but in Mexico.
Exactly. And a lot of the other directors, they didn't understand, they wanted to do the same melodrama.
The tragic story of the artist.
The other thing is that I didn't want to make a movie about Frida where she was like this victim, look how much this woman suffered. Because I didn't believe that's all she was. She was a survivor. I don't know anybody that loved life more than Frida. Because even with all the pain, she would wake up in the morning and started with herself. What work of art am I going to make of myself today? Decorating her hair, whistling, doing the gardening, cooking, in pain. So that's not a victim.
Right.
So I couldn't find the right director until I found Julie Taymor. And Julie Taymor was like my dream, exactly. The first time we sat down and started talking about Frida, it lasted 4.5 hours.
Wow.
We talked about nothing else.
And she had done Titus before that.
She had done
right?
Titus, yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, so she was my rock.
Wow. It's amazing that you found each other. And when the movie came out, I remember sort of, you know, I think I lived in New York at the time. I wasn't in Hollywood. I don't remember how it was received. But did you feel like it was a turning point for you as a performer? And did people say, oh, Salma Hayek can produce too? I mean, was there the sense of people saw you and what do you need to do for people to appreciate you at this point? You worked 12 years to make this movie.
Those were out of those 8 years, the last 5 years were probably the hardest years of my life. Maybe one day I will write a book.
You mean about getting the movie made?
What it was like, what I went through, it was really, really, really painful. And it was also kind of a miracle that it got made. And once it was made, it was very sad because not only nobody realized I produced it, and I really did, not like, oh, my name was in it, no. If you see, there is no credit for a casting director in the American cast, because I recruited every single actor, every single part. I got the money for it. I got the permits in Mexico. I got the permits for the paintings that nobody else. I nurtured that script for 8 years meticulously, I got the director, and most people don't even know I produced it. And
well, the film had a lot of producers, so they see your name and they think, oh, a vanity
it was
credit
so long.
for it. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And except there were some people that were involved in the middle of it that at the beginning didn't even want to make the movie, and they saw what I did. And those people have hired me and sometimes call me on their editing room to help them with other movies that I'm not in. Or I have a lot of respect for a certain group of people that witness. But when, after, I got a nomination, 6 nominations for the film, and nobody offered me any good roles after that. Wow. Not before and not after.
So when you would sit down
It was the same roles. It was the same. The bimbo.
So when you would sit down with your agents and managers and people on your team who are supposed to offer guidance and, okay, here's what we think, this is the next step, would they come to you and say, we're just not getting interest in you for these parts? How are they communicating to you? Because it's so easy to feel helpless as an actor. You're dependent on these people to find work.
I have a manager. Her name is Evelyn O'Neill. I've watched her go crazy. Like racist, sexist, this is so unfair.
She sounds like a great manager.
And for so long I wouldn't make her a dime, and she'd be so angry that, that they wouldn't see it. And so I have a great manager. She's amazing.
Well, we saw it. I just want to let you know, you see that movie and you're very special. So I just want to tell you. So jumping ahead a few years to Savages, which is insane, Oliver Stone's movie about the drug cartel, among other things. You play one of the most insanely awesome, evil villains I've ever seen, which was incredible for a woman to get that part. Her name was Elena. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's pretty great. Was this originally written for a woman to play this part?
It was written for me.
It was, okay.
This is a good story.
Good.
All the bad stories you've heard about Oliver Stone.
He's a polarizing figure, but never boring, right?
I'll tell you a good story about Oliver
good.
Stone. He wrote the part for me, and I heard about it from other actors that he was going to cast for the other parts, and he had told them that I was going to play that part and that he wrote that part for me, but he never called me. He casted the entire movie, and I'm like, Evelyn, did he go? No, no, I hear about it, but I'm going to call him to see, hey, we're here. But didn't call her back. Once everybody's cast, finally, he brings me along. I don't read the script because I don't even know. And I read the script. And she was a good character, but she was like
one-dimensional.
One dimension, and in everything. And when we started the rehearsal process, he says hello. He says stuff like knucklehead stuff all the time, and it's kind of scary, and he's a bit intimidating. And Thank God I had my girl Blake, whom I adore, and
Blake
he
Lively.
was Blake Lively and me against the rest of the world.
It's a very macho movie. It's a very macho movie. Yes.
And I said, I don't like this, the way this is written, and he wrote it.
I'm sensing a trend with this.
Yes, but
No, it's great. You have
they
to
don't
say
write
something.
good things for women. I have, you know why I have a career? Because I can write. They give me chicken shit and I have to make chicken nuggets. Every time. I never got the good parts. They were not, I made something out of those parts. And I said, it's not good. Why? Oh, you think you can do better? What would you say? And I start telling him, and he goes, stop. Bring me the recorded. Improvise the entire scene. And we start taking notes.
Wow.
And then Blake jumped in and started saying, yeah, my part thing. I said, I'm sorry, Oliver. You are brilliant. Not necessarily known for your female roles.
No, not in the least.
And he said, no, I like what you're doing. Take away the script. This scene is about this. Do the scenes.
Amazing.
And we would rehearse. I would rehearse with the mic. I would improvise. I like that. He would laugh. Amazing creative process with Oliver in this.
So he is collaborative in that sense.
He was in the rehearsals a dream with me. Maybe not with everyone, huh? Because if he doesn't like what you're saying,
Right.
it's
Right.
really hard.
Right.
But he's smart. And then eventually the very last scene, I had one scene with Blake, and he said I didn't have time to write that scene. And it was an important scene.
Was it at the dinner table? The scene we
Yes.
were talking? Yeah.
And I said, don't worry, we'll write it. We'll write it, we'll bring it to you, and you do the corrections. It's easier. This way you don't have to bother.
I'm just imagining what he's thinking, but this is all.
He said, go, write it. We brought it, and he said, it's good. And that's what we shot. That scene is written by Blake and I.
Wow.
And you know what was so exciting for me? The trailer, a lot of the lines in the trailer, all the lines in the trailer.
Oh my, this just gets better and better. So from about 2010 to 2013, you appeared in a bunch of comedies, which is fun to see you kind of change it up. Grown Ups 1 and 2, and then Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. What did you learn about making comedy from those guys? Because it's a very bro atmosphere. Adam
I
hires
always
all of
wanted
his
to
friends.
do comedy. Nobody would hire me. I wanted to do romantic comedy. After Fool's Rush, I said, okay, now I'm going to do the romantic comedies.
Right.
No Mexicans in the romantic comedies. Bye-bye.
Right.
So I didn't have a career as a comedian.
Right.
But then Adam, who was a friend, gave me a shot. I auditioned for him for something else, and I didn't. And then we became friends through a friend, Heather Parry, who was a producer also there. And she kept saying, she's so funny. This girl is completely wasted. And he was writing me in a movie, and then I got pregnant, and I said, I can't do the movie. And so he invited me to be in the first role. You know why I'm still working? Because I always work with if I work with someone, 90% of the time, someone in there, one of the producers, the director, they call me back. But I've never entered the studio system.
Wow.
They've never casted me. I've never gotten a movie that came out of the studio.
That's incredible.
Yeah, not once, huh? It was always through someone who worked with me that's in it.
It really pays off to be a good person. Really.
Or professional.
Or also just a
Professional,
good,
yeah.
smart person who is people value, clearly. If Oliver Stone's valuing your script changes, that's huge.
It was amazing developing characters with him and talking about the psychology, and he really listening.
Incredible. And I've also very much enjoyed your animation voiceover work. Puss in Boots, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's the sweetest, most adorable. If you are having a bad day, that's really just so sweet. The Prophet, of course, which was very lovely. And of course, my favorite, Sausage Party, where you played a lesbian, hard, horny taco named Teresa. God bless Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. What do you enjoy about doing that kind of work? It's, I'm sure, a very strange process from the inside.
It's not, I mean, I cannot compare the three movies.
Right. They're all very different.
They're all very different. So it's not just doing voiceover. The Prophet I produced. It was 4 years trying to do.
That's another labor of love project.
That's another label of love, and it was hell also. You know, it was very hard to do animation, and then nobody saw it. And I'm so proud of the film, and nobody saw it.
It was a hard movie to market, I think. Yeah.
It was a hard movie to market because it was different. But I don't want to do things that are not different. I mean, I'd rather go through hell and lose
than repeat yourself.
Then just do what everybody else is doing.
But then you see The Prophet. I can't imagine, had there not been The Prophet, we probably wouldn't be seeing Coco now. Maybe. You know, I think that movie really opened a new eye to, not only is there a market for these stories, and, you know, when Pixar chooses, this is groundbreaking. It's a Pixar movie centered on a Latino boy, Latino story, Latino history. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, however, I don't see as much publicity behind it as some of the other.
I think it's kind of slow. It's growing.
It's going slow.
They're starting to screen it now, but apparently it's amazing. So fingers crossed for Coco.
Yes, and then of course Sausage Party. I mean, The Prophet. She's asking me The Prophet and Sausage Party. Compare them. And
they have nothing in common.
That was humiliating. The Sausage Party for me because I learned something about myself I didn't know. When I read it, I was blushing. I'm like, I don't know that I can say these things. I really don't know that I can bring myself to say these lines because it's very dirty, guys.
Very dirty. Yeah.
And then,
not for children.
Not for children. And then I got on the mic and you start watching, and then and of course you have to improvise.
Right.
I was 10 times dirtier than what they wrote. I mean, I came up with the slogan, once you go taco, you never go backo. And I mean, you have no idea. And I saw it. They were advertising my character with that. I said, that's my line too. You know,
that was all over LA.
But me, but then I was so naughty.
If you haven't seen it, in certain scenes, the taco is hitting on Kristen Wiig's hot dog bun character. And were you actually shooting it with Kristen, or it was all added in later?
With Seth, just because he was directing it.
Well, I'm sure you made some good friends in Seth Rogen and Evan. They appreciate that art form. So now we come to Beatrice at dinner, which is what we're here to celebrate. I've told people this all year, but I feel like no movie has captured my mood and my malaise and just sort of the confusion of what we're all trying to deal with right now better than this movie. Mike White is just, like, everything he writes is just...
He's one of the best American writers today.
He has so much heart. I just adore him. Did Mike write this with you in mind? Did you know?
Yes.
He did, okay. And obviously he and Miguel Arteta had worked together many times, and obviously Miguel seems like a natural fit to tell this story.
No, Miguel and I have tried to work together in the past.
And you hadn't before, right?
No, because I never gave him the money to that movie with me. Another one. Yeah. But he did direct some of the Ugly Betty episodes. And
right, he's been a big TV director. Right.
Because I produce Ugly Betty,
yes,
so
I was going to bring that up as well. And you had a lot of TV projects too. I'm having to skip over something.
No, skip it. Let's get to Beatrice.
So when you first read, I guess, first draft or whatever draft Mike sent you, what was your first thought about Beatrice and this character?
I didn't know anything about it. I said yes without knowing what I was getting myself into. And I read it. I was very emotional because I had sat with him for dinner, him and Miguel, 2 weeks before. He hadn't started writing. They were picking my head. I didn't know for what, because I just knew it was a dinner. That's what, and okay. It is. That's all it is.
It is. Literally, it's a dinner. Yeah.
And 2 weeks. My birthday was in 2 weeks after that dinner, and on the day of my birthday, I got an email from Mike that said "Happy Birthday," and the script was there. Aww. In 2 weeks, he wrote this script in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it's almost exactly line by line what he sent me.
That's amazing.
And so I was really overwhelmed because I couldn't believe that this man wrote this for me, and I loved the character, and I thought it was brilliant, every line and everything, and I was really, really moved. And different than all the other stories that I have told you, I didn't change one line.
You didn't have to argue with him about anything.
I didn't give one note.
That's really amazing.
And I was so grateful, and it was so good. I didn't try to make it into something I understood better. Because I understood that there was a clear vision of what they were doing. And I didn't want me to get in the way of learning and going to where they were. And I was right. Miguel Arteta described a very specific movie to me in style, in tone, and what the movie I saw was exactly what I was told it was going to be. It's the first time ever. Wow. Because the movie, takes a life of itself. It goes in different directions, and
it's very supernatural too. I mean, there are moments where you're like, what am I seeing? And I think only Miguel can pull that off.
Well, the thing is that what's brilliant about it is that it actually has magic realism, but it's treated in a completely different way. It's not over the top, it's subtle, it's with a sophisticated hand. You've never seen magic realism like this before, to the point that it becomes such a part of the story that it doesn't stand out. Maybe some of you are thinking, what is she talking about? Because you don't remember those little subtle moments.
Right. But that's Miguel's touch. So I think had it been in another director's hand, and Mike too. Yeah.
Yes, Miguel did it, but also the economical way in which Mike used it was very, very interesting.
And what do you think, and I've thought a lot about what the answer to this question might be, but what is this movie about? Because when you first see it, you think, oh, it's about tolerance, and my dad voted for Trump, for example. It's been a really hard year for me.
Has
trying
he
to understand
it, or
he has. He has.
Yes,
I'm chipping away at it. It's been very exciting. But John's character is so likable, and he's so dynamic, and what's so magical about John is that he can turn any character into someone you sort of ultimately like, even though you may not necessarily agree with his actions and words. But when I watch the movie, I think, okay, what is this movie telling us? Is this a lost cause? Are we able to actually, change people's minds? And how can we change people's minds who ultimately, in their core, don't understand where we're coming from?
Well, in the movie presents two sides of a conversation that is very relevant to America and the world, and it doesn't try to give you a fabricated solution because we have not found it. I think what it tries to do, and it succeeds, it's provoke you to wish for that resolution. If you are, I don't know what you think, if you think I died at the end and you're frustrated, this is good.
Right.
This is a sensation that you can go home to and ponder upon and have a feeling, not because it's prefabricated by cinema to create a superficial emotion on you that you're comfortable with because you can identify very clearly and you're entertained by it. But the emotions should come from your own retrospective and introspective moment of your own conversation and the conversations with the ones around you. So it doesn't try to present a solution to the problem. It just presents the problem and the two sides, and lets you take it in hopes that you are present to the fact that the biggest problem is the lack of communication and coming into some kind of unity.
And empathy too.
And empathy. I found, however, And when I talked to Mike, he was very pleased that I found that. I found something in the movie that is where the hope should come from. Beatriz, this is where they come together, and you will see that they are the same. Beatriz has this nostalgia of a place that in her head is home, where there is nature and
That's some kind of upset about the goat. That sort of represents
No,
that.
she wants to go back to that place where she grew up with. You remember? Tlatlekutli. And the mangoes.
Somehow I forgot the name of it.
She feels this nostalgia, which, you know, a lot of people, I don't know how many immigrants we have here, no matter how happy you are with your life somewhere, there's always this nostalgia. And in her head is a place where she wants to go back to. And I think that home, it's an ethereal place, because if you go to the place where you grew up now with your parents, they're living in the same house, and by any chance they're still together, you go there, it doesn't feel the same. It's missing.
It feels very small, too.
Well, what is interesting is that we have that urge to go to that place. It's not physical, it's in your head. When you were once pure, in touch with nature, safe, excited about life, and there was a sense of innocence. Unfortunately, John's character finds it in hunting.
Right.
But he says there's something pure about it, primitive. He's in nature. At the end of the day, I believe that human beings, we're all looking for that place inside of us where our humanity is pure. And this is what gives me hope that one day we'll be able to try to work together, having the same goal, the evolution of the human race. This is what, to me, the movie is about. But of course, you have to really look for it.
And also, too, I think it's worth acknowledging that for John's character, he exists in a world that no longer exists. He thinks it, and I think that's what we're seeing now, is we can't go back to the 50s and in this world that maybe you did feel more comfortable when you were the only white person, you know, for miles. Or excuse me, when you only saw white people in your little town, or whatever, however you rewrite your own history. So I think each of those is impossible. So then it's kind of like, how do these two characters come together and create a new reality that is inclusive? And I think that's really what we're going
by going back to the pureness of your humanity.
Right. You have to rely on a lot of humanity moving forward, that's for sure. I did want to talk about Beatrice's clothing, which I love. You're a petite person, and you had flat shoes on.
Not in everywhere, and not in every part of the body.
You are, I would say,
I'm
by all
short,
accounts.
but I don't know if I'm petite.
You're very petite, but I love, and my friend Amy Landecker is in the movie with you. She plays John's wife.
I know.
And I remember her texting me photos from the set, and and Connie and the rest of the ladies are fairly tall, and you were so short. She was sending me selfies, and I was like, why is she so tiny? Well, they all have these giant shoes on.
And we were walking on a hill.
Right.
They put them on the side of that was the height.
Right.
With shoes like these.
Right. And they're already tall people too, to begin with.
They put me with absolute flats in the lower part, and he cast it tall on purpose.
Well, and there's a scene where you're all walking in a line.
That's
along
the one.
pool.
Yeah.
And you see,
it was like this.
You see, it's just this beautiful idea of how diminished she looks to them. And I thought that was just such a brilliant choice, and also her utilitarian.
But did you see how much she cared about that?
No, not at all.
Not at all. She didn't notice.
She didn't care about changing her clothes for the dinner. She was fine. But I love the
She tucks
utilitarian.
her shirt.
Yes,
Ready.
Her clothes are utilitarian. I mean, anyone who's gotten a massage or therapy knows that you're not, dressing up to do that work. So I just love the idea that she's existing in these kind of not terribly sexy clothing, not terribly feminine, it's just who she is, and I love it, and she doesn't care. She doesn't feel threatened. She's so comfortable in her skin.
Not at all. It doesn't belong to her universe. She doesn't think about her image or how she looks. Her head is present in a different dimension almost. She is always very present, but her way of presence, it's not how most people are present, self-conscious. Did I say the right thing? Did I look right? She's just there, you know, taking in, observing, not judging, not, you know, not getting angry for a long time. She's not getting angry. She's not provoked easily. She's not terribly, she doesn't have a complex that these people are, you know, richer, or to them, she doesn't care if they're richer. She doesn't really care about that. That's why she kind of confronts him.
And I love the choice of the bangs too, and the pulled back hair. I think had she had the hair that you have right now, there's something about the way she's styled that's obviously so purposeful, but it really...
It's all is Miguel's credit. He designed
really
the
effective
hair, the clothes. I just did what I was told. What a joy.
For once in your career.
For once. I can just show up and act.
But what a relief to come to set and feel like...
It was nirvana. Yes, and it was really freeing not to have to look good. It's really freeing.
Yeah, probably quite different from the dance you did from Dusk Till Dawn, right? The snake. I watched that again recently, and I'm like...
No, there's something in common.
Wow.
They have something in common that only those two have.
Really?
Because I have a phobia of snakes.
Do you guys remember the scene I'm talking about? Okay.
I had to learn to go on trance.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
I was dancing on trance.
Wow.
And there was no choreography. I had to be one with that snake and just follow, move with her. And I think it's powerful because of it, because there were all these professional strippers around me, and people don't remember them. I was intimidated. Oh my God. Of course, I have to go with the professional strippers, like a bar full of professional strippers from LA, I mean, the Mecca. And I have to go with my bikini, you know, George Clooney looking up my ass, me praying that the snake was not going to squeeze my leg and all the cellulite was going to pop out, you know. And I was so nervous.
I don't remember any cellulite in that scene.
Because she didn't squeeze hard enough. But because I was on trance, I was just like, let's go. And I was able to do this with the snake. And for Beatriz, instead of hair and makeup in the morning, I would meditate and stay like in a specific zone for the entire day.
Wow, I never thought those two characters would be connected.
Satanico Pandemonium and Beatriz.
Well, she does love animals, so that makes sense.
That's true.
So I actually sat next to Miguel recently at an event, total fluke. It was dark, so I couldn't tell who it was at first, and he being the incredibly friendly and nice person he is, he introduced himself, and I was like, oh my God. For me, I was like seeing the Beatles. I was so excited.
For me too. For me, it was singing with the Beatles.
He's a very good guy. We started to talk about this movie and sort of, you know, the Oscar conversation and things like that, and I thought, you know, I really hope that you get the acknowledgement that you need.
What about Mike White?
I know, Mike. And he had another movie, The Share Too, Brad Status, which was amazing.
But, you know, it came out in
I know. It's a lot of
April,
hard timing. Yeah.
He really, Mike White's script is so perfect, and
hopefully
Miguel, both of them are so good. But
they are. But Miguel mentioned something that I hadn't thought of that I'd love to get your take on. So when the Oscars So White thing happened a couple of years ago, I understood the frustration, but I also thought, you know, why isn't this ever about Latino representation in Hollywood? You know, people talk about black performers and how it was mostly white actors nominated that year, and I thought, legitimate. But also, we exclude so many other groups when we center just on this one group. And I asked Miguel about that, and I said, you know, you have these Mexican directors, Alfonso, and the people you've just mentioned. And he said, they don't hire Latino actors in their movies. And I started to think about that. I thought about Gravity. I thought about Birdman. I thought about Revenant. And I couldn't immediately recall any Latino performers who had meaningful roles in those movies. And Guillermo's movies they're more sci-fi, they're, you know, kind of fantastical, but yet, again, I couldn't think of any. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel they have an obligation to, I guess, quote unquote, help the community, to position performers like you in roles the way Robert did for you 22 years ago?
No. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, imagine these people are my best friends. They've never given me a job.
I know.
I see them all the time. I've seen their kids grow, be born.
They've never approached you with a project?
No. The best thing they can do for the Latino community is be the most brilliant they can be. I believe that it's important to tell our stories, to support each other. That's why I wanted to do Ugly Betty. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we have to have as artists the freedom to tell the stories that move us and that are universal. In a way, it becomes more inclusive. They make big movies.
They do.
When they did smaller movies, they casted Latino parts, like Y tu mamá también, or Amores Perros, or Solo con tu
But those took
pareja.
place in Mexico. And I guess I'm thinking more of the bigger commercial studio movies that they've made
These
here.
big commercial movies they are making in America, the studio, even if maybe they proposed me once, I don't know, the studio won't take us. They want those big stars because they are making these big movies, and I'm glad they're making those big movies even if they cannot hire us, because they're part of America's cinema story. Some of the best movies in the last decade of this country have been made by Mexicans. And I think that has to be above anything else. However, thank God for Miguel Arteta.
Right.
Thank God for that brilliant man that might not have as big of an acclaim as these other directors. And I swear to you, he's such an immense talent. Yes. I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to work with him. I would not change my experience with Miguel in Beatriz for any role on any of the other bigger movies that I admire so much that my friends have made. We did it with so much love. We did this movie really with so much love. Every single actor, they were all brilliant. I mean, if you look at the movie, every reaction of every single member of the cast, it's impeccable. Because they're great actors, but also because there's a great director.
That's very true. Yes. Although I still kind of like to think about what Gravity might have been like with you instead of Sandra Bullock. I'm just throwing it out there.
I would have kicked some ass in that one. I would have been good, but she was amazing. She was amazing.
She was. But it's hard for me to think that people wouldn't have wanted to see it had you been the actor.
You've never made that movie with me in it.
Oh, it's very frustrating, Salma.
You think?
It's just illogical to me. I don't understand it.
But you know what? Can I say something without you asking?
Yes.
I remember when I was nominated for the Golden Globe for Frida. And I had no expectations that I was going to win because I had already lost it all the other ones, and also because, well, this was the first one, but the studio didn't support the film. It was such a fluke that we had so many nominations because the studio supported us zero.
This was Miramax.
This was Miramax. Actually, they were going to put it straight to video. It was not even going to come out. Harvey thought the movie was awful. And we had to beg and beg and beg and beg for...
Did he try to meddle with the editing and... Because he's notorious for that.
He didn't even...
And other things, obviously.
He didn't even care enough to do that.
Wow.
And then, of course, when it came out, he was furious it was doing so well because it became competition. Remember, I brought most of the money for the film. To Gangs of New York, one of the most expensive film he ever did, and Chicago. It was the year that it was.
There's a lot of expensive movies that year.
And we had the same amount of Oscar nominations as Gangs of New York when he did not support this film. We never felt that, you're dreaming of the Miramax machine for the Oscar. Sure. Forget about that. Forget about that. But so I was completely relaxed. Because I knew I was not going to win the Golden Globe. I was just so happy that I was there. But I remember when Nicole Kidman got off, and she said, I want to thank my agent. Oh my God, it makes me... chokes me. Because I know where I'm going. I want to thank my agent for, this is not the exact words, it's going to be Mexican style, the transcription, for of all the scripts that were sent to me and all the offers, he insisted that I would make this one. And I was insecure what to choose because there were so many. And she insisted that I would make this one, so I want to thank my agent.
This was for the hours, right?
For the hours. And I thought to myself, oh, that must be nice.
To have so many scripts in front of you that you...
All these beautiful parts and roles, and you're really nervous that you choose the right one because there's so many. What if you choose the wrong one? I just spent 8 years of my life sweating blood for the one, for that like one script that maybe it gets done. And I said, and I guess for the other actors, it's not like that. They just read the script. They don't have to go produce it themselves, and they say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And then, I was like this, and then I said, I smiled. I got this great feeling, and I said, thank God. Because in this moment I said, look at all the things I've learned. Yeah. Because it was not easy.
Very true.
I know how to direct, how to produce, how to write. What do you want? I can pick up the camera. I can, operate the camera, edit, and anything. I've learned so many things. It's been so much richer. I never had the luxury to be in the gym and in the I've been hustling, I've been like creative and trying to do my things. And I'm 51, and I'm still here.
We're so glad. So do you hope to direct and fulfill your childhood fantasies now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I directed one time before. Small movie for Showtime, small film. We shot it really fast. I've never been happier. It was so easy. I loved it. And we had no money, no actors. 90%, it was a very big cast, 90% of them were non-actors. I had a mailman, a trucker, a waiter, a kid that had never acted before. I only had like 3 really good actors, and then everybody else was local from Utah. And I won an Emmy, Best Director. And we kept it really quiet because my manager said, they'll never hire you if they know. And it's true, nobody hired me for 3 years after that. But I don't care anymore. I'm gonna direct.
What is a dream project that you would want to throw yourself into?
This one that I've been thinking about for 13 years, and I just wrote it.
You did.
But it's very expensive. It's not a small independent movie.
What's the? You obviously don't.
But you know
spoil
what?
It,
I'm glad, even if it doesn't get done, I did not diminish myself like, oh, I am a director, female, I have to do a small independent. That's not what I saw. I saw what I saw, I have it clear in my head. Why should I say, well, maybe later in the, no, let's go. Maybe we make it, maybe we don't, but at least you have to honor your visions and give them a chance and go for it and not belittle yourself and dumb yourself down because it's the only possibility that can happen. I would have never left the telenovelas if I was thinking that way.
Can you tell us the genre of the story? Is it an adventure? Is it character study? Is it Beatrice at breakfast?
If I tell you the genre, you're gonna think it's gonna be like the other movies in that genre, and it's reinventing that genre. So I will say the genre, but it's please, because that's one genre I detest, because I think it's very old-fashioned. It's a musical.
I love that. We love musicals. You have a great voice, by the way.
Oh, I'm not in the movie, I'm directing.
I know, but you have a great voice.
Thank you.
Because you sang in Frida. There are certain scenes you sang. You have a
I
really
sang in
lovely voice.
Beatriz.
Yes, that's right. You have a very nice voice.
In Frida, it was not nice because I was singing drunk. In Beatriz, I was singing Stone, which is a completely different. I sang a little better.
Well, we have a lot of great audience questions. I want to make sure we get to all of these.
It's so cold in here.
It is cold.
The Mexicans are freezing.
So this is from Melinda. Where's Melinda? Oh, right here. Hello.
Hi, Melinda.
Melinda would like to know what director has influenced you the most or given you encouragement to grow during your career? Obviously, we may have already talked about him or her at this point, but.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble, Linda. Obviously, I mean, Julie, Robert, I'm gonna have to say 3, okay? Because, of course, Robert discovered me and destroyed my back. Julie Taymor, she was my rock. We really fought like ferocious beasts to get this movie
Like you're in
finished.
war together, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, there is somewhere in the press a quote from Harvey Weinstein saying, "These are the 2 biggest ball busters I've ever encountered in my life, in my career." And we took it as a compliment. We were so
Yeah, for him to say that, yeah.
But I have to say, Miguel. One more second.
Take your time. Take your time.
Oh, God. That happens when I don't sleep and menopause is knocking on your door.
It's okay, we like emotions up here.
Miguel, because...
Want to grab it? Thank you, Eric.
You know, one of the many things he taught me, and I want to include also Mike in there, but Miguel, is that it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle. You don't have to be afraid to disappoint anyone. It can just be beautiful and meaningful. And it was not him just making his movie in an ego trip, or it has to be like this. It was this like, to me he looks like the Mana Mana from Sesame Street. I swear I would look at his face and
It's a very kind face,
I would
doesn't
just smile because I knew I was in good hands. I was being loved and looked after, and I had this great eagle that was gonna take me under his wings every day and take me to a new place that I've never been before with the adventure. I actually didn't think anybody was gonna watch this movie. I really didn't think at all. I didn't care either, and neither did he at all.
Wow. But it premiered at Sundance, right? That was the
Yeah,
first.
but we really did, especially me, I had like, half the movie is a close-up of my face, and I'm not allowed to move a muscle or cry. And I thought that to be so boring. And he knew. I had more lines at the beginning. I had more clever and funny lines. And after the first read, they took them all out.
Why?
And I said, oh my God, I didn't do a good job. And they said, no, we just discovered another letter inside of you we hadn't even seen. And we have to take away the distractions so that people can see it. You don't need to speak in this film. I know exactly what I'm doing with you. So every day was a discovery, with him, and he was excited of the experiment, and he didn't, he was really very pure. It was really making justice to this woman that we loved together. And I felt so confident. I didn't care if I did it well or if I didn't do it well. I just wanted to experience. One day this is the last thing I say, okay? One day I got very lazy at night because it was like 3 in the morning and I had a cold and I was exhausted. And it was a very simple moment. And they say something to me and I don't say nothing, I just look at that person. And he goes, God, no. I knew exactly what you were thinking. You see, I had to have such a complex way of thinking that he didn't want people to know what I was thinking, but they had to feel that I was thinking something. So I could not move any muscles on my face. He was really relaxed, no space for any gesticulation. And he said, I knew exactly what you were thinking. I said, but I didn't move the muscles. And at some point I joked with him, I said, my God, I should have gotten Botox for this. And I said, I didn't move the face. And he said, no, but it was too clear, your thought process. I knew exactly what you were thinking. You were thinking this, and that. And I go, shit. Okay, let's go again. And we do it. And he goes, God, what are you doing? Now you didn't think of anything. It was true. And he goes, don't get lazy on me. It's almost, you're on. Okay, let's go again. And then I had to go to this one space where there she was and all these crazy things. Every take would be something, a different perspective of seeing what he was saying. And he trained me to do that for this film. But nothing would escape his eyes. There's some scenes where I'm crying and crying. Like with the goat, there was a couple of takes where he didn't put them in the movie. He said he didn't want me to cry, but I bet he's impressed right now. Cut out, he didn't put those in the movie, he didn't put the takes.
Why do you think there are so few directors like Miguel? Because this sounds like a very, very, very unique experience.
Well, because Miguel is also a unique human being. He's a wonderful man. For all the pigs I've encountered. Here comes Miguel to redeem. He's such a wonderful man. He really is so generous with the crew, always kind to every single person in the crew, in the actors, treating everyone the same.
It's funny, when we were at the event, it was a premiere, his first thought about the event we were attending was, it's too bad more crew members aren't able to attend their own movies.
That's Miguel.
And I'm like, who sits in an audience about ready to see a movie, and that's the first thought?
And it's for real, it's not like a pose.
This is who he is. That's
mana. Mana,
exactly. This is from Carmen Scott. Hi, Carmen.
Hi. I'll be shorter with the answers, I promise.
No, we honestly have as much time as you want.
I won't cry.
What is your vetting process for a potential project that you might be considering? And how many people read a script before it actually gets to you? That's a great question.
You know, I have no rules or regulations. Right now, mostly it's about the school schedule of my kids. It's come to that. I live very far away. I live in London, and if they can wait for the summer, I can do a bigger film. If not, it has to shoot in Europe, and they have to. So I'm very limited, but I'm still working.
So logistical concerns
it's a logistic. Right now, it's come to that because I'm not separated from my family more than. Normally it's 2 weeks. In exceptions, I would go. I've gone 3, but I try not to be separated for more than that.
How long was the Beatrice shoot total?
Oh, this is a very important question. Guess.
I guess 21 days.
18 days.
15.
Oh my God.
We rehearsed 1 week. And we shot 3 weeks, but I talked to Miguel and Mike for 1 year before we started shooting.
Right. So a lot of seeds have been planted before that. Next question's from Carolina. Carolina? There she is. She would like to know any advice for perseverance when it comes to dealing with stereotypes? Great question.
Yes. You're not gonna like my answer, Carolina. Take that crush and throw it in the river. Because at this point, you don't get to use that as an obstacle. Today, they are desperate for Latino talent. You have to not think about that. You have to not see yourself as that. And I will say the same thing that I will say to anyone. Don't think about what you want someone to give you. Think about what you have to give to others, because this is your strength. This is what can make you go very far. The time we spent, I want them to give me this, I want them to give me that, they didn't give it to me, I went and I did it for myself. And I did it for others like America, because I knew I had something to give. I knew the market, I knew the other market. Actually, they rejected Ugly Betty 3 times, and I wouldn't give up. And so on the 3rd time, I went to advertisers. One company that represents advertisers, with a research that I did that was really professional, and I said, look at your consumers. I have this show, it will work because of this. Would you be interested in advertising in this show? Put your advertisers in this show. And they read the script, they looked at all my paperwork, and they said, forget about it, put a couple of advertisers. We'll pay for the entire show. Wow. So I went back to ABC, and I said, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because it's going to be for, I already have all the advertisers sold.
It was an adaptation of a Mexican hotel.
A Colombian. Okay. And then they took it. So you have to figure out what is it that you have to give, and then give it. Focus on the excitement to bring it out, not on how you're going to convince other people to give you things that and don't know what to do, because a lot of energy goes into the frustration of the rejection. You have to take that energy and look inside, and then that'll give you confidence.
A lot of this too is rethinking these feminine behaviors that we're taught, of politeness and waiting for our turn and all these things that I think we're all learning how to at least reevaluate.
But we still need to be polite more than ever. We need to be kind to each other.
Absolutely. But not waiting around for permission to do what we want to do.
Yes, exactly.
Which it sounds like you didn't wait around for
No,
permission.
I waited around 13 years. And I might wait longer because I haven't had the time to sit down and really try to finish that first draft. But I will.
We know you will.
Maybe in 10 years I'll see you, but you'll get done.
There's no time limit on your work. This is from Carmen, and she would like to know, what do you know about acting now that you wish you would have known when you started?
Where is Carmen?
There's 2 Carmens. This one was my question.
Oh, okay.
The other one's another Carmen.
Where is the other Carmen?
Here's your Carmen.
I'm the other Carmen.
Okay, Carmen, thank you. Well, I gotta say, when I saw this movie, and he was so about don't move the face, don't move the face. I thought my face was exactly the same in all, because I didn't move it. No, I had no reaction. I was feeling it. I knew the feelings were different, but I thought my face was gonna look identical. And then when I saw the film for the first time, saw that my face doesn't move the muscles, but they're different faces as if they were transforming like like so weirdly. And it does look different from time to time, but I'm not doing anything different. But I'm feeling something different.
Well, it's your eyes too. There's so
But
much in your eyes.
it was kind of interesting because I thought, I do find the face, I was looking at that because I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so boring. It's like, there is again, that girl that doesn't move.
But it's so much harder to act like that than be big and loud and expressive.
No, I made a commitment from the beginning. That's what I was doing. This is how I was approaching this character. And it was not hard because I didn't care. I just wanted to be directed by a good director. I just wanted to be obedient. And I just wanted to experiment because I was feeling all the stuff inside. So I'll tell you what is hard. What is hard is bad lines, bad script.
The chicken shit.
The chicken shit, making it into the chicken nuggets. But if they give you caviar, it's caviar. You know, if they give you a good script, it's easy. It's yes.
That's great. Next question from Tiffany. Okay, back there. This is a great question. Did you work with healers at all for this role to prepare? And if
Yes.
so, what type and in what ways did this role change your life? Which I think we've obviously hinted at. But.
I worked with different kinds of healers, and Miguel, at one point, she was going to also dance Zumba or something like that. It was a teacher also, so I did the Zumba. Then the Tai Chi, I did the Tai Chi. Then the Qigong, no, she's not going to do any of that. But I did, I work with different muscles. I carry the thing up and down. I did some different healers, Reiki, energetic, I mean, all kinds of things. I did do the work. And my husband was very happy because I had to give him a couple of massages.
For practice.
For practice.
And how do you think this role has changed your life? Obviously, collaboration with Miguel being probably at the top of the list.
No, yes, but I think that it's this thing that I know things don't have to be so hard. It doesn't have to be tense. It can just be, something that it feels beautiful to go to your job every day.
I think Hollywood's learning too that not all this has to be so unpleasant all the time. I think if we remember why each of us is doing these jobs, these are hard jobs. It's hard to continue to create content. But if we use
it's physically hard too.
It is.
It's long hours,
It is.
a lot of stress.
Time away from family and,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe Miguel is the role model, And final questions from Christina. A lot of ladies' questions, which is great. Aside from the script that you're working on, what haven't you done so far in your career that you would like to do next? This could be a type of role as well that you haven't played, perhaps television.
I'd like to do a big film that has a female protagonist that it's not 30. That is well written and that I get to do with another fantastic director. I don't care what it is.
Like
It
something
can
like Aaron
be
Brockovich
comedy.
or something like that.
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't care, but it would be great, that somebody pays you fairly, and it's not like, if you want to be in this movie, you have to cut your fee. But but they want to cut your fee half from the last fee you had where you cut your fee half, And I just hope that one day I get to do something that is bigger and that it still is good. Because right now you have to choose like struggling with a little film like this. I really wish there could be an Oscar campaign for this film for Miguel at the time, but also for Mike White, the script is genius. He wrote it before all this Trump thing. He wrote before. He's a visionary. But no, because it's smaller. It came out before, you know, and I'm sad because they really deserve some acknowledgement.
Well, if every person in this room pushes for this movie and spreads the word for people to see it and people who vote, I think.
And tell it to the Writers Guild and Directors Guild.
Well, I think I speak for everyone. I say thank you so much. This was so enjoyable.
Thank
You're
you,
such
guys.
a pleasure. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for coming, really.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.